Hello everyone, this is Prem Kumar and welcome to this new lecture. In this lecture, we are going to talk about how we can data encrypt in Pega. We will store the keys into the HashiCorp. In the previous lecture, we already talked about the key store, right? So in Pega, you can have a key store instance and that key store instance can refer the keys into different systems. The systems can also be like the Microsoft Azure Cloud in AWS we saw, and then we also saw about this HashiCorp. So this lecture is just dedicated for the data encryption part where we will integrate with KMS. Let's straight away go to the Business Studio and check how we can integrate with the HashiCorp. As you can see, this is the key store which we created in the last lecture. Now I'm going to create one more key store. Let me call it as encrypt key. And very shortly, I will explain you how encryption works in Pega. But for now, let's just create a key store. And if you look at the key store location now, just look this carefully. Key store management system for application for data encryption. So for data encryption, there are two blocks. One, KMS system or a custom system through which you can connect to, and below are referred to key store which we saw before. Now you have different options to store the keys that can be used for data encryption, and these are not for certificates but for storing the keys, and we are going to use this HashiCorp Vault. Okay, now to use the HashiCorp Vault, you definitely need to have the configuration to connect to the HashiCorp, right? First, HashiCorp Vault. Definitely you need to download the HashiCorp Vault. If you are using Windows or if you are using Mac, just go to their official website, get the right binaries and then download it. And they don't have any kind of installer, just you have to download the zip and then start the application. So what I did is I downloaded the zip and then extracted the zip, and this is the location. So I have it here. Now I just need to start this vault. So I go here and then try to start. I already tried a few times. So I'm going to for now clear it. So all you have to do is vault, then space server, then I'm going to start it as dev, because when you give it as dev, then you can have this HTTP. You don't want to work towards the certificates and everything. So just do a submit here. So what you get is you get the UI of the HashiCorp into localhost 8200. So just use this URL and I'm going to just launch it here. Okay. Now you should log in, right? So you have different ways to log in. Again, I'm not going to set up any kind of login. I'm going to use the root token, which I already get it here. So go here and then copy this root token. I just signed in. So this is how the HashiCorp UI is going to look. Okay, now we have to do three main things. First is on the secret engine. So you have to set up a secret engine. You have to also set up an access, because Pega needs to connect to this HashiCorp. So access needs to be enabled there. And then finally, you can also define some policies, provide some authorization there. Okay, let's start with this access first. Just start with enable new method. And then you have to use the app role. I also opened few tabs here. So everything is clearly mentioned. You don't have to worry about a lot because they have a right documentation. So all you have to do is you have to use this app role, because that is the one that supports to connect between two applications like HashiCorp, and then you can also use some application to connect to HashiCorp. So that is where you have to use this authentication method of app role. You can just navigate here. Here you will find all those configurations, and they also explain how to connect everything. Let's use the same kind of setup. You can just scroll here. First enable the app role. Let's use the web UI form. So you go here and then go to the access, new method. We did that. Just use and without any update. So what you have to do is just use this one path. Just enable the method. Don't do any kind of update. That's what they mentioned. And then second is you're going to create a role with the policy attached. So policy is another term which you will be creating. Okay, before creating a role, I would advise you to go and create a policy. So to do that, go here and then, but before policy, start with secret engines. Okay, what is this secret engine? I already opened one more tab. So you have transit secret engine. So this is dedicated for this cryptographic functions, encryption, decryption, everything comes out of the box here. So you go here and then transit, use this transit secret engine, enable this engine and use create a configuration key. Just name a key here. I'm going to say Mino Academy. You can also use different types of algorithm here. I'm going to use this RSA 2048 and I'm going to create a new encryption key. Okay, you see a key got created. So you can manage the keys here. You can define an auto rotation, a deletion allowed. So different types of configuration you can give. And then you see it can encrypt, decrypt, sign, different key actions as well possible. And we are going to use this encrypt and decrypt things. Okay, now a secret engine is created. And then you go to the policy and create a new policy. Okay, what will be the policy here? You can use this option to see how a sample policy can look. So ideally how your policy is going to look is, I'm going to use all these configurations here, create, read, update, delete. Maybe you only need this read capability, but just copy it here. And instead of secret, you want to say transit. Because you are using this transit engine, we want to use it for encryption, decryption. You have to follow this. If you are using HashiCorp only for secrets like administrator, username, password, you can also provide that path with some read capabilities. But for now, transit, this should be fine. And I'm going to again name it the same name. I'm going to keep Mino Academy, create a policy. Okay, now we created a policy as well, right? And then just get back to the documentation. What we did is we enabled the app role, and then we are going to create a role with a existing policy attached, right? So we have a policy created, Mino Academy as the policy. So we just need to attach that policy with a role. So this is the step which we did. They showed like they are creating a policy on the secret, specific secret. They are creating a policy to read, but we did for the entire transit, right? So we have used a while character there. So this is fine. And then what you have to do is you have to create a new role here, right? So they created a new role using the policy, right? So I'm going to copy this. And then you have to use this CLI, just paste it here. And you have to definitely change, right? So we have this auth app role. I'm going to create the role again as same name. So we will not have any confusion. Mino Academy as the role. And the token policy which we created, the name is Mino Academy, right? So that is the name in which we created a policy. And yeah, these let it be. I'm just going to click enter. So what we did is we created a new role now. So let's go back here. So this step is done. I created a new role. Now we need the role ID and secret ID, right? So we need this role ID. We need this secret ID. Let's use the same step to get this role ID and secret ID. Let me use this one. So I created a role. I'm going to get the role ID for it. Paste. I just need to change this to Mino Academy, right? Mino Academy. Okay, so this is my role ID. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this here. Next is the, sorry, I had to paste here role ID. Next is the secret ID. Let me check the secret ID here. So the same kind of step. Paste. Enter. I have my secret ID here. And this should be pasted back. Okay. Role ID, secret ID is done. What will be the service endpoint? What will be the encryption endpoint? What will be the decryption endpoint? So you need these details as well, right? And the format is going to be like this. So you'll have the host and then you have the app role login. And for encryption and decryption, you are using transit. So you have to use this. So key what we created is Mino Academy, right? The one we created, I'm going to use the same name here. Now let's do a save. And let's do a test connectivity. Test connection is successful. It means we successfully created a key store. We are able to read the keys which are already there into the HashiCorp Vault. And where is the key? You have it under the transit. So you created a new key and you name it as Mino Academy. We are going to use this key to encrypt the Pega's property as well as Pega's blob. Okay, how this encryption works at a very high level. Now at the top you can see there is a key repository, right? That represents the HashiCorp Vault, right? So we have a key there. Now there will be some readable data, and if you want to encrypt that readable data, what you will do is you will use the key to just encrypt the data, and then You will store those encrypted data maybe in DB, or you temporarily store it in the clipboard. So whatever places you want to store, you can encrypt the data and store that encrypted data. So it will be like a security. No one can just directly go and see the data. And the next is about the decryption. Again, for the decryption, it can be decrypted. The data can be decrypted only with the right key. So using the same key we will use, and then we decrypt the data. So here we use a cipher. So cipher will be used in the encryption. It refers to an algorithm. So Pega can use its own Pega platform encryption, or you can also go for custom cipher. And in this lecture, we are just going to use only the Pega platform cipher. Okay, now we chose an algorithm. We also have a key, and using that we are going to encrypt and decrypt the data. Okay, the next thing is, what type of data are we going to encrypt in Pega? On a high level, there can be two types of data which can be encrypted. The first is on the class level encryption, and the second is on the property level encryption. Let's talk with the class level encryption. When you want to encrypt an entire class instance, let's say you have a class instance and they have like 15-20 properties, all are kind of sensitive data, like personal data, and you want to secure the data. You don't want everyone who have the DB access can look into the data directly. You don't want to do that. So in such case, what you can do is you can do a class level encryption. Entire class can be encrypted. But there may be other situation where you want to use the property level encryption. So what you do in property level encryption is you will be encrypting only some special properties. So you can have a case, for example, mortgage case. At some place you want to capture the IBAN number, the account number, or the bank number. So that can be a sensitive data, that can be only single property. So you can implement the property level encryption. And the next difference is with class level encryption. Let's say you have a class instance and it only deals with the blob. We know that all the class instances get compressed and saved into the blob column, right? So the encryption, when you apply it for class level, it is going to just encrypt the blob data. It means if you exposed any column into some dedicated table, so that will not be encrypted. So this is a very big disadvantage when you use the class level encryption. So you should make sure that you should never expose those sensitive data so that you can use the blob encryption or the class level encryption. But for the property level encryption, it can deal with the exposed column. It means if I expose the bank account number into my DB column, and if it has a dedicated column, I can use this property level encryption to also encrypt that column. Not only on the blob, but also on the column. So property level encryption is like a high level secure for individual properties. But the drawback is like when you use property level encryption, when you want to update some case, create some case, or when you want to open some case, it's going to encrypt, decrypt individual properties, right? Let's say if you have multiple properties, it can be really time consuming. But for the class level encryption, it's going to be applying one time, like the blob column, right? So that is going to be encrypted and decrypted. This is on a high level the difference between the class level encryption and property level encryption. Let's see how we can achieve that. We successfully did a test connectivity. So we connected to the HashiCorp Vault, and there we already have a key, and we are going to use this key to encrypt and decrypt the data. Next thing is you have to enable the encryption into your system. That is again the important step. To do that, go to configure, go to system, and then you can go to the settings, go to data encryption, and from here you can choose either to go with platform cipher or you can go with custom cipher. When you use custom cipher, you have to import some jars into your Pega platform, specify the location of the jar, and Pega recommends it only when you really need it, go for custom cipher. And I believe it's not supported out of the box when you use Pega Cloud. I think it's okay to use platform cipher, I would say. And I already did a trial and run, so I already did the setup of HashiCorp, as you can see the history. Because for the first time you will not have, nothing is enabled here. So first you have to select the platform cipher, and then you have to select the key store. So now I have the encrypt key, right? So that is what I created in the last lecture. I'm going to use this and I'm going to activate it. Just do an apply. So I get this error, and now I also did a small trace to try to see what is the exact error. And the error which I get is I'm getting 400 error for this login URL. But the strange thing is, if I try the same, like the test connectivity is able to work. So yeah, this is totally strange. I was initially thinking of one reason, because in Pega documentation what they mentioned is if you are changing the HashiCorp keys, then make sure don't delete the previous key. Because I did a trial before I record this video, so there they already did a key store, connected, used a different key. I just deleted that to show you in a fresh manner, but maybe that is active. I got this error, so that is one. So what I'm going to do is I'll give one try. I'm going to go to the personal edition. I want to show you one more thing. All these security hyphen things, right? So these are all related to the encryption which we are talking. So if you go here and then try to see, here I don't have any record, but if you go to CDH, here I have something. It's all related to data encryption, internal platform. So I'm going to just delete everything. Let me say truncate. I'm going to truncate this as well, but don't do it in real-time environments. I think this is also one interesting thing about the keys, right? So let's see what type of things we have. You see, maybe this I have to clean off. Truncate. So check this one, view data, and maybe I'll truncate this as well. Yeah, let me truncate everything and start from the first. Okay, so I truncated everything. Now if I go here, I believe then I should not see anything here. Yeah, no cipher has been activated. So this was how at the very first time I did this. I hope it works, please. Encrypt key has been activated. Okay, so now we have this encrypt key activated. So what we can do is, let's do the testing on both the sides. First thing is, like we already saw about the two types, right? One on the class level, second on the property level. Now let's go to the class level first. The configuration stays in the class. Just open the class. Let me open my mortgage class. So here you have the option of encrypt blob, right? So if you use, I don't have it enabled. So this lecture is taking some awkward turns. I'm going to quickly debug. Let's do it this time real time. Why this is disabled? I want to check it. Encrypt blob. Because now I have enabled it, so I don't expect this to be disabled. But let's check the configuration. Read only condition has instances. This will be read only if you already have the instances. So you cannot just do a class level encryption if you already have the instance. So when you are planning for production, make sure this thinking should be there at the very start. But if you went live without encryption and later point of time, if you want to encrypt, it's not possible. I don't see that option here. I'll leave this out. Let's test the other thing. At least I believe that is going to work. Okay, to do that, I have this mortgage class and there I have a property called account number, and that is already exposed. I just exposed before. Now what we will do is we will encrypt this property. To do that, you need to create an access control policy. So access control policy is part of security. So go here and then let's create a new access control policy for the property account number, right? Here I'm going to say, because in this access control policy I can add multiple properties, so I don't want to create the name like account number. Maybe I can add more properties. So I'm going to say mortgage encryption, something like this I'm going to say. And here you have to use this property encrypt option and then make sure you use the mortgage class, create and open. Okay, now you can choose the properties. So I'm going to say account number. Yeah, I'll just encrypt only this property. Now as soon as this is saved, now an access control policy is enabled, so your property will be encrypted and it will be saved into the DB. Okay, now let's go to the case. I believe, yeah, again for the trial and error I already created 3 cases. Now I'm going to create one more case and I'm going to say something like this, account number 9. Now you may get a question, we say it is encrypted, then why are we seeing it here? At this place the decryption already happened, so in the UI If you want to control, you have to use a different access control policy called property read. I already explained that in the Pega masterclass lecture, how to use this access control policy to mask some property. But for now, we will just see how it is encrypted into the DB and in the clipboard. So if you go to clipboard, this is the M4, right? Go for POI work page. You don't even find the property into the clipboard. It's not visible. If you go to the mortgage 1, of course not encrypted, so I have this 5462, right? So if you go to clipboard, then you will find that this property account number is visible in the clipboard. Okay, I really want to see that encrypted data. So what we can do is, let's go to the admin studio and let's open our work class. So I have here work class, right? I'm going to check the data. So there should be 4 cases created. And if I check my account number, only the first account number is not encrypted. These 2 are my trial runs, and this is the one, M4 is what just got encrypted. As you can see, no one can identify what type of account number I entered here. In the UI it is visible, but in UI also you can control. In the logs also the same thing will be visible. So this is how you are going to implement a property encryption. Recollecting, to use data encryption, to use platform encryption, of course, you need to use a KMS and a key management system. So you have to create a key store, connect to the system so that you have the keys generated, and using that key, you are going to use the out of the box cipher which comes with the platform encryption, and you are going to encrypt and decrypt. So then you will move here and then do the configuration, use the platform cipher and use this configuration, and also understand that there are a lot of Pega tables, like the metadata tables Pega maintains at the backend. Don't delete it, but I'm just saying, please be aware of that as well. And once these are all done, your application data encryption is set up, then you can go to either class or you can go to property level. Class level, make sure before you create the instance, encrypt it at the class level, and at property level, you can encrypt at any time. So once you encrypt, you can see those encrypted data saved into the DB if you have exposed the column. I'll end this lecture here. 2 more lectures in this module. See you in the next lecture.